Yes, I know all across the nation you tune in to see my new hand dance if I'm going to do something new. So I threw in something new for you today. All right, Countdown to Restoration Friday edition. A cold Friday for much of the country. I hope you're staying warm and safe because it's cold here in Amarillo. It's so cold that I don't even have a joke for that. It's just so cold that it's cold. Anyway, Countdown to Restoration. We are counting down the evil days of the Biden regime. We are sorry that the nation has been inflicted with such travesty. Danny Thompson here, your host, to bring you horrifying and shocking instances of the Biden regime's plan to destroy the United States of America. And won't you be glad when this is over? And we have a lot today, and we had talked about doing the seculardems.org show, but then I realized that Monday was President's Day, so we will do it then. Should be a slow news weekend. Lots going on, though, in the good old Biden days. There is the seculardems.org. Go on, read it for yourself before we go over it. It will explain so much to you. Anyway, what else do we have? Yes, the Biden poster child, Biden regime poster child, Dr. Rachel Levine. We say, would you call him Rach? Hey, Rach, how you doing? I don't know. Dr. Levine? I don't know. We have this from our friend Charlie Kirk. Ron DeSantis has gotten more negative press for keeping businesses open than Andrew Cuomo has for intentionally covering up COVID deaths in nursing homes. I wonder why. Because Andrew Cuomo is the star. Let's see. I had that. Yes. He finally, an aide, cracked. And normally we don't do anything but, news from the regime. But this is very important because Cuomo administration, scrambling after top aide, admits governor hid COVID death toll. He said, they didn't give the true numbers of how many COVID patients they moved into nursing homes, and many seniors died, so many more than in Florida, because the governor in Florida immediately said, no, we're closing nursing homes. But we bring this out not only because Andrew Cuomo is a snake of a man that deserves to be ran out of town on a rail, maybe tarred and feathered, possibly imprisoned for this cover-up, which won't happen. But the thing is, an aide cracked. Whether by accident, just always on her mind. It was just always on my mind. It was always on my mind. I don't know. Whatever, but the aide finally cracked. And the pressure, because people wouldn't let up. They started an investigation of it, and the Attorney General did, wanting the numbers, and it's just always there. So finally, from an aide, someone no one expected, the news leaked out and was said. And the same thing is going to start happening with the Biden regime. And so many people lost loved ones in New York, and it just didn't have to be that way. But it was just bad mismanaging, and I've said from the beginning, I've told I don't know how many people, it wasn't an accident. He did that to lessen the state's Medicaid rolls. And I'll stand by that as long as I live, ladies and gentlemen. Here is something, talk about the next election. 6-month delay in census redistricting data could throw elections into chaos. Wow, that's what we need, isn't it? Of course, they're blaming the true president, Donald J. Trump, for the problem. But what it is, they came in and started saying, don't do this, do that, don't do this, do that, and they're changing all. But, of course, everybody's going to blame the proper president. And then we have what? We have this. Speaking of, did we speak of COVID? Oh, yeah, with Andrew Cuomo. I had this set up different, but I didn't realize that things were flowing differently. We have this from the thief in chief. Hey, buddy, where are you? It's not Saturday yet. We're not through. Get back to work. The thief in chief. Yeah. Ah, oh, he looks good. Thief in chief. Yeah, he just there for a second, so he doesn't always get in a hurry. As he was at the National Institute of Health yesterday, or Institutes of Health, not just one, but more than one Institute of Health, and talking about masks, listen very carefully to what he says.
My friends behind me, Dr. Collins and Dr. Fauci, about whether or not I should take my mask off. And the truth is, although we're more than 10 feet away, I think it's important that I not. It's critically important, the message. I realize I'm speaking to a vast majority, at least I hope I am, of the folks out here at NIH. You know that wearing this mask through the next year here can save lives, a significant number of lives.
Through the next year, did you catch that? Through the next year. Because even with vaccines, even with everything, you've got to wear that mask. That mask, that's the thing. Through the next year. Well, we had some masking questions of Jen today. So let's get to them. Not as much Jen today. Give you a happy Friday.
Thank you, Jen. The governor of Montana announced that he was lifting the state's mask mandate, saying up vulnerable individuals had already been vaccinated. Has the president had any direct outreach to governors, Governor Jim Forte there, but others about mask wearing and mask mandates, and why not, if he has not?
I don't have any calls specifically with the governor of Montana to read out, so I can check and see if he's engaged with him directly. The president has been very clear about the impact of wearing masks. He's obviously put in place a federal mandate, as you've referenced, that will ensure that they need to be worn on planes, in certain public places as well, because it could save 50,000 lives. He is open to engaging with Democrats and Republicans, as you all know, governors, mayors, as he did just today, about any issues they have, but I don't have anything to read out on a conversation with the governor of Montana, I should say.
And so if you're a citizen of Montana right now, your governor says you don't need to wear a mask, the president says wear a mask, what should they do?
Well, the president's guidelines are based on, they're not even the president's guidelines, I should say. They're guidelines that are driven by health and medical experts, by the CDC, by doctors and medical professionals who are trying to give clear guidance from the United States federal government on how people can be safe in this difficult time. So we'd certainly encourage people to follow federal guidelines. But again, the president knows this is no easy time, and he is more than happy to engage with mayors and governors who, even those who disagree with him, as is evidenced by the fact that he had a meeting today in the Oval Office.
Yes, a meeting with 4 Democratic governors and mayors and 4 Republicans. So, if your governor says, hey, we've got the most vulnerable vaccinated, we're moving on this, it's up to you if you want to wear a mask or not, please still listen to the president, because you need to wear that mask for about a year. Matt, he had on about 2 or 3 of them. And if you watch the whole speech, which I encourage you not to do, because it's just, man, is it boring. He's playing with his mask all the time. You can't hardly hear him. It's just, but, oh, who knows, who knows, who knows, who knows. Oh, speaking of mayors, no, we don't want to do that yet. Let's do this. All right. Scandal-plagued blue state bureaucrats get plum posts. Wonder how long it took them to write that headline. In Biden regime. Translation, they're putting crooks in office. Yes. Let's see here. President Biden nominated Julie Su Wednesday as the Deputy Secretary for the U.S. Department of Labor. Why does that matter? Why do we care about Julie Su? And, I don't know. Let's see. Sue, who currently oversees the California Labor and Workforce Development Agency, so many agencies, so little time, will likely face tough questioning over her handling of the state's unemployment claims during the pandemic, which has been inundated with allegations of widespread fraud. Fraud, ladies and gentlemen. This fraud we can still mention, mail fraud we can't. All right, let's see. A recent state audit found that under Sue's leadership, her gallant and thoughtful and worthy of promotion leadership, California has mistakenly paid out $11.4 billion with a B, in fraudulent unemployment benefits since the pandemic started last March, with some estimates ranging as high as $31 billion in fraudulent payments. And she gets a promotion. She should have made it $51 billion and she could have been the full secretary. I mean, come on, people. All right, but that's not all. See, with the Biden regime, it never ends in one spot. Biden has called to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour as a part of the latest coronavirus relief package, a move that Sue, former civil rights lawyer, has advocated for, and a policy with which Washington State native Susie, not Sue, but Susie Levine, I guess, is familiar. As Washington State's previous employment security department head, not just the head of the department, but the security department head, employment security department head, Levine also left behind a legacy burdened with an unemployment scandal when she left her post to join the Biden regime in early February. Over $600 million were lost to what officials believe was a well-organized Nigerian fraud ring, relying on stolen identities commandeered during data breaches. More than 122,000 fraudulent claims have led to the state's massive losses. And she, ladies and gentlemen, was not just a regular employee. She was the previous Employment Security Department head. That was their job. That was the only job she had, to keep all those payments secure. And she failed miserably, so let's support her. Let's promote her. Let's support her. Let's just throw anybody in there if we owe them. And that's all that's happening. It's just paybacks. It's not about the job they can do. It's not about how competent they are. If it was, we wouldn't have Pete Buttigieg as Secretary of Transportation. I mean, the man knows nothing of it. He may not even be able to start a car for all we know. It's just paybacks, and I realize that happens in every administration, but come on, people. Market Watch, February 20th. Keep that in mind. Oh, yeah, because, I don't know. But speaking of economics, one of the mayors, they trotted out the mayor of Detroit and the mayor of Miami, a Democrat and a Republican. All right. Now, I'm playing this. Mayor Duggan, I think is his name. I'm playing this to accent one thing, so you'll have to bear with him a minute. And, you know, he seems like an okay guy. But anyway, let's go, Mayor.
And probably for a lot of folks in this country, the images of Detroit you remember were the ones that were portrayed nationally during the bankruptcy. But if you haven't been to Detroit in the last 7 years, there has been enormous progress. We had billions of dollars investment from General Motors, from Ford, from Fiat Chrysler, which is now Stellantis, huge numbers of jobs in the fintech industry with Quicken, and the tech companies have finally discovered Detroit. We've been pleased to see Amazon and LinkedIn and Google move into the city. And across the city, entrepreneurs have pulled down the plywood off of shuttered storefronts. And largely black and brown business owners have started to open up our commercial corridors. And we did all this on a bipartisan basis. In Lansing, we've had Republicans and Democrats working together to support Detroit's comeback, because Detroit, being an economic engine for the state, is good for everybody. And so we know that we haven't gotten to everybody. We're not kidding ourselves. But here's what I do know. The unemployment rate in Detroit, the start of bankruptcy, was 21%, and a year ago it was down to 7%. We had moved 80,000 people from poverty to the middle class, the largest reduction in poverty. It was going the right direction. We certainly had a long way to go to make sure it included everybody. And then when COVID hit, we're back up to 20% unemployment. And the question is,
how long is it going to take to get back? Well, longer under Biden. And I bring that up because they went from 21% down, all the way down. And in Detroit, any unemployment number under 10 is amazing. Matter of fact, 20% has probably been the norm there for decades. And so obviously this mayor's doing a great job. I was in the Detroit area way back in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s. And I'm telling you, it was a disgrace then. And so I'm glad they're coming back. And won't every American say, I don't care if it's headed by a Democrat or, we want it to come back. But notice 7 years ago, they were at 21% unemployment. Now they got all the way down to about 8. But who was president? See, 7 years. The last 4 years, who was president? And they rolled back all those regulations and made it possible for more entrepreneurs to entrepreneur. Oh, yeah, President Donald J. Trump. It ain't going back down to 8% under this regime, Mayor. You're in trouble. That was the good old days. Of course, they'll blame the pandemic forever. But we just passed the American Rescue Plan. Why, everybody will be driving new cars in no time. Yeah, buying mansions. We'll all be rich. As Merle Haggard used to sing, we'll all be drinking that free bubble up and eating that rainbow stew. Yeah, that's what's going to happen, boys and girls. It's good times ahead, because you will get $1,400 in your pocket. That'll make it $2,000. And of course, you can do anything if you have $1,400. Yes, the sky is the limit. $1,400, you can actually go into Walmart and get 2 shopping carts instead of 1. Yeah. And of course, people are still being evicted and all that. $1,400. Open up the businesses, you morons. Jeez, how hard is this? All right. Sorry, I got emotional there. But anyway, where did we leave off? Oh, we did the mask. We did the mayor. What do we have here? Immigration, which I'm going to tell you, later in our insider stuff. They're getting tired of immigration, and yet they rolled out immigration today. But there was, which we're not going to highlight because it's just, there was a member of the White House press office staffer who got in trouble. I'll give you the shortest version that I can. He was dating a reporter from Politico, and people found out, and she covered the Biden campaign during the campaign time, and since she's moved on. But, so that's kind of an inappropriate relationship, and a female reporter from Politico Axios, I'm sorry, his woman was from Axios. A female reporter from Politico found out. He did not talk nice to her by all accounts, used language that is frowned upon in today's society, and I think called her a few names that women usually don't like to be called, and really leaned on the Politico management and all that. Well, this happened weeks ago, but it kind of came out overnight, late yesterday. And, Joe Biden said, if you didn't treat people with respect, you're getting fired, baby, on the spot. Well, they didn't do that. They did give him a week suspension without pay so he can learn his lesson. And he apologized. He even sent a personal note to the female reporter that he was not nice to. So the press was wanting to know why he wasn't fired and this and that. So all the questions about the border went to him. He was the sacrificial lamb, ladies and gentlemen, because this happened weeks ago, and it just now, Politico put an article out about it, and I will tell you why later on, kind of a tease right there for later on. But President Biden took away tools the Border Patrol needs to keep Americans safe, says Stephen Miller, formerly of the Trump administration, and I'm sure he will be back one day. A lot of reading today, but it's the only way I know how to do it. Former White House senior advisor Stephen Miller on Thursday warned that the Biden administration is causing a self-inflicted public health crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border after new policies have allowed potentially COVID-positive migrants into the country. And not even to mention the danger to them. All right, he's taken away from the Border Patrol the basic tools they need to keep the country safe. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing. Miller was referring to a 152% increase in expected illegal border crossings, including 700 children at the border without parents or adult supervision. But they told them to stay away. All right. So, but what did the Biden regime roll out today? Well, announced it last night, Biden to begin admitting migrants forced by Trump to wait in Mexico. Now, this is not all migrants, supposedly. This is just those that have applied for, refugee status, for sanctuary and all that because they're being mistreated and everything else. So, let's look at it. Biden moves to bring in asylum seekers forced to wait in Mexico under Trump program. All right. And that's just a photo of a group of migrants crossing the good old Rio Grande. All right, so let's go on with the story. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, da-dum, 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 da-dum. Washington, from Reuters, the U.S. government next week will begin to gradually process asylum seekers forced to wait in Mexico under a controversial program put in place by former President Trump, officials said. And so, these people are more important than U.S. citizens, but, you can decide that on your own. All right, let's see, where are we going? Migrant protection. The Trump administration launched the program in 2019 as part of a wide-ranging crackdown on the ability to seek asylum in the United States, which Trump officials depicted as rife with fraud and meritless claims. The initiative forced more than 65,000 non-Mexican asylum seekers. Do you think out of 65,000 there might be one or two that doesn't have a real claim for asylum? 65,000 coming from Central America? 65,000. Bottom line is we're going to admit about 65,000 people into the country. All right. Yeah, let's keep going. 65,000 non-Mexican asylum seekers back across the U.S. border to wait for their U.S. court hearings, although far fewer are believed to still be in Mexico. The Biden administration will begin by working to process about 25,000 migrants with active claims in the program, officials said on Thursday. Now, I didn't get all of, because, just of time, they are supposedly having a non-governmental organization test each one for COVID, but they're not releasing the name because that would just make too many people call that agency to find out what's going on, and they want to leave them free to work. So we're just going to have to, because this is the most honest regime in history. Where are we? Where are we? Stop. Nobody knows. All right. The migrants' claims will initially be heard at 3 ports of entry along the border, with organizations working to identify those in line the longest and those deemed particularly vulnerable. At 2 of the ports, the Biden administration expects to process 300 people per day, a figure that could increase in time. We will start small, said one of the officials, all of whom requested anonymity. The Biden officials declined to name the ports where the administration planned to begin processing, citing fears that people would rush to those locations. Really? And also citing fears reporters would be there. I'm telling you, you can't trust these people. Come on. Come on. Is that all on that? No, I think we've got one more. Actually, that's out of place. But anyway, I gave you everything you need to, just the highlights on that. 300 a day. Because that has been a priority. We've got to get those migrants in here. Can't get schools open. Might have to quarantine all of Florida, but we're going to get those migrants in here. God help us, come rain or shine. 300 a day? Well, if you don't call and complain, it's just going to keep on happening. Just to keep on keeping on. That's what we got to do. What else do we have here? Oh, yes. While we are throwing the border open, processing 300 a day and inviting more, although we've told them not to come, the Customs and Border Patrol Agency confiscates nearly 200 pounds of bologna found in a car at New Mexico border. Yes, nearly 200 pounds of illegal Mexican bologna was confiscated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents at the New Mexico border, the agency confirmed. Hey, this is big stuff, and it really is. It's a lot of bologna. I mean, really. All right, what else? Nearly 200 pounds of illegal Mexican bologna was confiscated by U.S. Oh, I just read that, didn't I? Okay, the wrong one popped up. I'm sorry. Confirmed in a release, agents with the Office of Field Operations Agricultural Specialists found 22 rolls of bologna, 194 pounds in the truck of a Nissan Rogue at the Columbus, New Mexico port of entry, and fined the driver, 49-year-old from Albuquerque, $500. Some of the bologna was also found in the guy's luggage. I'm sure his clothes smelled good. And, that's just one of the big things. They have confiscated like 500 pounds last year. We do a lot of looking for bologna, ladies and gentlemen. Because, you got people in there, let them go. But we got to check that bologna. Only good old, your bologna's supposed to have a first name. It's OSCAR. You know the story, right? It can't be PEDRO. No, it just came to me. It's pretty funny, isn't it? All right. So, with that, let's do a couple of gins. And then we've got some, it's kind of different, but we're going to do it. This is on Israel and the Middle East, so it's very important. Listen up.
Any update on whether the president has called or plans to call Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I don't have an update. He is looking forward to speaking with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I can assure you that will be soon, but I don't have a specific time or deadline or time or date for when that will occur.
As I'm sure you know, there's a narrative in Israel that this is an intentional diss. Is it?
It is not an intentional diss. Prime Minister Netanyahu is someone the president has known for some time. Obviously, we have a long and important relationship with Israel, and the president has known him and has been working on a range of issues that there's a mutual commitment to for some time. It is just a reflection of the fact that we've been here for 3.5 weeks. He's not called every single global leader yet, and he is eager to do that in the weeks ahead.
Called every other major ally in Europe and in Asia.
He's called many of them. That is true. Some would argue they haven't received calls yet and that they are still eager to receive them. But I can assure you he will be speaking with the Prime Minister soon, and he's looking forward to doing that. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on Anne, are you talking about days or weeks as the time frame of the president speaking with Netanyahu?
I don't have an exact timeline to give you, other than he's looking forward to having the conversation. They've known each other for some time. There are certainly areas of mutual interest, and as soon as he makes that call, we will let you all know.
Can you give us further details about?
All right. So, these reporters just aren't making Jen happy. Well, he's called everybody else. Why not him? Well, he's going to. We're just waiting for the right time. Maybe never. Isn't there a song, The 12th of Never, or something like that? Anyway, hasn't made that call. Well, it gets even more interesting with the next question. I started to put them all together, but I thought we should have a little break, and we have some information on Mr. Netanyahu on our inside segment, so don't go away. You will be sorry that you did. The same reporter that asked if there was a timeline asked this.
The issue of the Middle East. I mean, I know that you're saying that, things are still under review, including policies like the Abraham Accords. But can you please just give a broad sense of what the administration is trying to achieve in the Middle East? For example, does the administration still consider the Saudis and the Israelis important allies?
Again, I think there are ongoing processes and internal interagency processes, one that I think confirmed an interagency meeting just last week to discuss a range of issues in the Middle East. We've only been here 3.5 weeks, and I think I'm going to let those policy processes see themselves through before we give kind of a complete laydown of what our national security approaches will be to a range of issues.
Just to follow up on another.
How hard would it have been to say, oh yes, Israel and Saudi Arabia are still our good allies? Are you kidding me? See, Saudi Arabia is a new Iran now in the White House. Yeah, they're the bad guys. Israel have always been the bad guys. She wouldn't answer that. If I'm an official in Saudi Arabia or Israel, I'm probably making a phone call about now to someone in the White House. Like, hey, if we're not allies, we're going to change a whole lot of things, buddy. But we have information on it, which will be coming shortly. All right, some good questions there, reporter group. Okay, I've got a few things, and I'll watch the time to see how we can get through it. But anyway, this just shows the direction of our country. This, of course, is nothing new. They've been talking about this for a while. But Oregon promotes teacher program that seeks to undo racism in mathematics. Because mathematics, it's a white man's world. Yeah. Let's keep going. The Oregon Department of Education recently encouraged teachers to register for training that encourages... This is just ridiculous. I mean, you just want to slap some people. And I think you should be, let's get it made big there for you. Ethnomathematics. And argues, among other things, that white supremacy is just raging in mathematics. And I'm going to show you why they think so. All right. Because College for Training and Courage, Ethnomathematics, and argues, among other things, that white supremacy manifests itself in the focus of finding the right answer. The focus of finding the right answer, that's racist. Because, well, it's not totally white, because Asians seem to be really good in math. So I guess you can't be brown or black. You know, if you're brown or black, aren't you tired of being called stupid? These people are saying you can't learn. Why don't you call and complain? Only white people can learn math, and it's not your fault. It's racist, because in math, a lot of people expect you to find the right answer. Well, if you're building a house, you probably want those people working on it to know how to measure and add and all that, don't you? You don't want your house lopsided. When you're at the store, you want someone that can count your money correctly back to you, don't you? I mean, who wants a world where you don't have to have the right answer in math? Nobody that's black, brown, white, purple, green, whatever color, wants wrong answers in math unless you're taking a math test. This is racist. Math isn't racist, this program is, but that's where everything they're trying to go. They're trying to go that way. They want teachers to make use of a toolkit for dismantling racism in mathematics. Dismantling racism in mathematics. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 + 2 = 4 that's white supremacy talk. That's white supremacy talk. I mean, it's just part of the toolkit includes a list of ways white supremacy culture allegedly infiltrates math classrooms. Those include the focus is on getting the right answer, students being required to show their work, and other alleged manifestations. Oh, the concept of mathematics being purely objective is unequivocally false, and teaching it is even much less so. The document of the equitable, we need equity. The equitable math toolkit reads, upholding the idea that there are always right and wrong answers, upholding the idea that there are always right and wrong answers perpetuate objectivity as well as fear of open conflict. Perpetuate objectivity and the fear of open conflict. So there can't be just a right and a wrong answer, or you might have battles breaking out in math class. It might make people have opinions. It might cause people to form right thoughts. I mean, really, ladies and gentlemen. And I realize this is Oregon, but they have test states where they can get it in without any problem, and that's what's going to start rolling out through everything. Look up Black Lives Matters teachers, classroom kits and everything. They're doing this all over. It might be happening in your school district, and you just don't know about it. You better find out. Even if you don't have kids in school, do you want these kids who weren't taught how to do math working in public? No. All right. Some more fun stuff. We've got a lot on this. And it's not racist. It's just, you got to look at it. Can't get it straight. Snubbing white male business owners in COVID relief helps no one. Say, what? What are they talking about? America's small business owners are struggling to survive the pandemic and the government-imposed lockdowns, and white male business owners have an added problem. All right, what could that... Where'd I go? What could that... Go away. All right, what could that added problem be? Let's find out. While politicians are offering loans and grants to minority and female-owned businesses, they could care less about helping those guilty of the sin of being born white and male, of which Ladies and gentlemen, I confess I'm guilty, both white and male. Now, Dr. Rachel Levine, she's okay. Born white and male, but one day she realized, I'm a woman, and changed. What's next? Tax breaks for women and minorities and higher rates for white men? Why not? Criminal laws that only apply to white men. Government programs shouldn't discriminate. We're all guaranteed equal treatment under the law, but that's what you don't understand, old writer of this horrible article. It's equity. All men are created equitable. Right? Yeah. That's what it is. Is there anything else worth reading? President Biden hasn't received that memo, apparently. He won the election vowing to unify a divided nation. Yes, but then yet his 27-page plan to build back better by advancing racial equity, I've told you this is important, proposes dozens of taxpayer-funded programs for businesses owned by black and brown people. There is no mention of white-owned businesses because that's not equitable. No. You get nothing, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is not a tax put on you eventually if they are not thrown out of office, the miserable cretins that they are. Because you want to know why? It's not fair because white people make more money than black people, so we got to tax you people more. That's right. That's the way it goes. See, it's not just a claim. That's what they're doing. It's what they're doing. And we want black people. We want everybody to succeed. Why can't government realize that? Everybody wants everybody to succeed. Oil analyst argues Biden administration will be the most hostile White House that industry has ever seen. Well, will it be, Mr. President? What do you say? Oh, yeah, the old head nod again. Yes, yeah, we will be. We're going to tax people right out of the way. But we have this article. Please bear with me because I think it's very important. It's from the Washington Examiner. I didn't come up with the title. Democrats screw the little guy. All right? And there is so much in this article. The greatest trick the Democrats ever pulled was convincing the public they're on the side of the little guy. Oh, hey, that sounds like Kaiser Sose and the usual suspects who says the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. All right, let's bring in the next one, please. And forgive the segue, which is purely coincidental, brings me to Senator Chuck Schumer, leader of the Democrat majority in the Senate. He and his party are trying to ram legislation through Congress to double the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. They claim this is for the struggling workers and their families, that is, to help the little guy. Are you a little guy? We want to help you. But it will do no such thing, although the Congressional Budget Office, which is neither Republican nor Democrat, recently found that a $15 minimum wage would lift us all higher and higher. Would lift, straighten up there, thank you. Okay, would lift, we're trying to find it, 900,000 people out of poverty. It also revealed that it would kill 1.4 million jobs and perhaps as many as 2.7 million. But what does that matter? We're helping the little guy. And you know, if some people have to be sacrificed along the way, then okay for that. That's fine, right? Okay, so where were we? I shouldn't have cleared them all out, might repeat. That's because at every respected economist acknowledges Washington cannot wave a wand over an hour's work and presto magically raise its actual value to 15 from the current $7.25. And you know, right now wages are low, but when the economy is booming, they all went up. You almost couldn't find any place, except in smaller towns, where most starting pay was at $10 an hour. But that's what we can just do that. Businesses always try to avoid paying more than something is worth. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, maybe, I don't know. So if jobs are overpriced, employers cut them and either get more work from fewer staff or replace sacked workers with machines. The sustainable way of lifting 900,000 people out of poverty, if you actually want to do that, he goes on to say, if you actually want to do that, is for Washington to get out of the darn way, cut regulation, as was so effective during the last 4 years, and create conditions in which businesses can thrive. But Democrats don't want that because it reduces their control. All right? Are you ready with this? The Senate filibuster, which requires 60 votes to pass bills, would thwart the $15 minimum wage legislation, which is in the 1.9 trillion of which you're going to maybe get $1,400 trillion coronavirus relief package. So Schumer intends to sneak the hike through a maneuver that allows budgetary matters to be okayed with a bare majority. 50 Democratic senators plus Vice President Kamala Harris. We're trying to work as well as we can with a parliamentarian to get minimum wage to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Schumer declared recently, translation, what's the translation? He's putting the screws on the parliamentarian to rule dubiously that the minimum wage is a budgetary matter and can therefore pass with a bare majority. Because again, we have to help the little guy. Come on. Don't you want to help the little guy? 2, 3. All right, just saying, I got to clear off my screen. My program doesn't like too many slides up on the screen. And it's a good program, but there's no way to upgrade, so you can get more slides on the screen because they want to stay free. Doing it, I guess, to help the little guy. But it ain't helping me, ladies and gentlemen. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Senator Bernie Sanders, whose socialism is now the guiding star of Democratic governance, says the 15 minimum wage is a budgetary matter because it will stoke inflation and force the federal government to borrow more. Now, if you just think right there, this wage increase will stoke inflation and cause the federal government to borrow more? Now, how is that going to help the little? How is that going to help anybody? Think what a ruse that is. All Democrats have to do to sidestep norms and make sure nothing stops legislation that can't secure wide support is change the rules or make their bills so expensive that they blow a bigger hole in the budget. The people who will have to fill those holes are you. How am I going to fill those holes? Are you? With higher taxes, higher prices, more borrowing, and higher interest rates. And your children, the little guys who will inherit the Democrats' mess. Yes. A minimum wage hike automatically raises union wages. And this is the whole point of it. It's not to help anyone like you and I. It's not to help the McDonald's worker. It's not to help the poor struggling family where two people have to work to barely afford life because there's people that do that don't even make minimum wage. nearly every union contract has in it that their pay has to be so far above minimum wage. This way, every union worker gets a raise. It's not just that McDonald's gets a raise. The union electrician gets a raise, because if the contract says that the lowest pay has to be at least $5 above minimum wage. Well, right now that's $12.25. If it's 15, that's 20. And so everything goes up. The truck driver, the union truck driver, so much above minimum wage. See, a lot of us have known this for years, but most people, they think they really mean that poor little car wash employee. They don't care about them. They're paying back the unions. And that's why inflation goes so high, because it's not just the people working at the small jobs. It's people working at all kinds of jobs. All the auto industry workers will get a raise from this. I mean, that's why inflation will go so high. That's what they don't care. They don't care that the fruit stand person is making $7.25 an hour, unless they could get that person unionized. So, Democrats are really just trying to inflict harm on the most vulnerable workers who will lose their jobs, and entrepreneurs who will lose their businesses at the behest of entrenched big labor who give millions in campaign kickbacks to the Democrats. Are you learning anything? It's not just on minimum wage, but across the spectrum that Democrats work against the little guy. They want to cancel $50,000 of debt for each college and university student. Who does this help? It's not, who does this help? Higher income students who go to expensive colleges and universities. Who will pay for it? Federal taxpayers and their children, the majority of whom didn't go to a university, or those who, being thrifty, chose cheaper, less prestigious schools. So help the rich and screw the little guy. Let's keep going. I mean, is this guy not, okay. Got to clear off some slides again. One day we'll have a more professional studio. I just know it. If only I wasn't a white male, I could borrow the money for it now, and the government would love to have me if I wasn't a white conservative male. Then I too could have my own news network. But no, here I am. I can only have so many slides on a screen. That's equity, ladies and gentlemen. That's equity. And where did we go? Was this it? Oh, what about Democrats' desire to restore the state and local tax deduction? Remember, that came out in the tax breaks. People in the states that where the state has high income tax, they can no longer take that off their federal taxes. Because why is it fair for the rest of the country, like in Texas, where we don't have a state income tax, to pay people for paying their taxes in California, New York, New Jersey, all of New England, and in so many other places, Michigan? Who does it help? Wealthy people paying high taxes in Democratic-run states. Who will pay for it? Federal taxpayers and their children across the nation. So help the rich and screw the little guy. And the war on fossil fuels. Same again. It saves the consciousness. There are some words, if you've noticed, I do not say so easily. It salves the consciousnesses of the rich white throwing working class people out of their jobs. Yeah, it makes the rich people feel good about themselves and good about the country, while us little people lose our job. The pattern is obvious in the warp and woof of the Democratic agenda. Let's get the next one so I don't have to stop reading. All right. Ersatz egalitarianism. I can read all this when I'm not having to say it. cloaks a legislative agenda inimical to the interests of the poor and powerless. Who helps them? Why, people such as Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon and the second richest man in the world. Why? Because he already pays $15 an hour, so he can back a move that would ruin his competitors. Requires him to do nothing, precisely nothing, and makes him look like he's on the side of the angels. Yes, he's the good guy, because he is going to bankrupt even more businesses. So, that nausea you are feeling in your moral sense, is your moral sense functioning as it should? Because all this should make you sick, but that's what they're doing. They don't care, ladies and gentlemen, and you should call people and tell them, yeah, we want the poorest of the poor to make more, but you know what? Let's just get the economy booming, and then they'll make more like they were under President Trump. Let's not do this. Let's stop treating white people like they're the reason everybody's poor. Let's not be equitable. Let's be equal. And if people need, President Trump was doing that, had enterprise zones, business things. Black unemployment was going down. Mexican unemployment was going down. Hispanic unemployment, Everything was leveling off. But that's not good, because that means somebody's going up that we don't like. And we're not enslaving black and brown people. See, that's what they want. That's the height of their racism. They want to enslave people of color. Why? Because they'll think they always need these Democrats to give them a handout. God help us. And why won't the country see this? But I know, we're going to pay the debts of people that went to colleges where they trained them to think like this. We're going to pay off, if you're a math teacher in Oregon, you can get your student loan paid off by not teaching math. Oh, 2 + 2 = 10? Oh, that's a good answer. I'm wondering if they're going to require white kids to have the right answers and everybody else to be able to have wrong answers and still get it right. Mommy, I failed math. How'd you fail math? I failed my test. I didn't think there were any wrong answers. I'm white. That would be funny. In a reverse thing, universities would what? They would give scholarships to kids who failed math in Oregon because they got the answers right. Anyway, we go on, almost done. I know it's long today. And, of course, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. You can go do whatever you want, come back later. But I felt that was important because this is what they're doing. This is the way they want the country to be. And if you don't make your voice heard, well, I'm praying about it. Well, you've got to call people too. Call on the Lord, yes, but call people. Tell them, no, we don't like this. This is stupid. All right, so our God formation time. And, of course, this is Friday, so it's Planner Day. Well, let's see what we have. I told you there was a reason why even though they were announcing their border initiative, there was a reason why the reporter, the press office employee, all that came out today. The hope of a quick transition is gone. There are too many questions. The border is a hope, but attention must be diverted. We need a new event. Well, what was it? That guy getting suspended for a week, which only made it look bad because he was supposed to get fired by the thief-in-chief's own words. A lot of questions about Israel. Couldn't say Israel is an ally. Israel must wait, and they must agree. They're holding, and more to say about Israel in a moment. Banks are starting to pressure the regime. They want to be free to get free from a lot of regulations, but they want some government guarantees so they won't lose money again and bring the whole economy down. And so they want the government to back up their investments in different things. But they helped during the elections. They sided, a lot of them sided with the regime, and so they won't help. Fraud. There's going to be a lot of talk about fraud, such as fraud in the Trump administration. They're going to say that there was, and there's not. But they're going to try that because whenever the accusation comes, they divert it. So get ready. If they start talking about fraud, watch for Susan Rice eventually, because remember, Susan Rice is their diversion person. If they start talking about fraud, that means mail fraud's coming back and they're trying to cover it up and get people off the track. All right, planners, the church must be taxed. Now, not all the church, but some of the church. We can even tax their internet transmissions. Yes, because that's only fair. Everybody's got to pay. And see, the thing is, they want to shut the church down again, so they're trying to figure out ways, because, the church shuts down, it's just more people on the internet. Everyone that speaks religiously over the net or airwaves must pay a fee. Yes, a fee. Emerging religions can be exempted, just like emerging businesses. Remember, that's how come there's a lot of tax breaks for ordering things online. They don't want to kill that, so they give it tax breaks. So emerging religions would be exempted for the sake of equity, but Christian religions must be taxed. This will stop most. Yeah, because a lot of churches, they if they had to pay a tax every time they did a broadcast, they couldn't do it. Plus, property taxes and everything else. Too many are on the internet. When we shut them down, we want them shut down. And these are people on the government payroll. And Monday, when we go over how they feel about religion, you'll understand even more. African nations that will not accept abortion, homosexual behavior, and trans rights must be cut off from aid, except Muslim nations. We need them. In fact, we could tell them that if they convert to Islam, that they would be exempt. Exempt is the word of the day. And that would make them, those really in charge above them, happy. Of course, churches that promote our religion would be exempt too. See, I told you. Yes. They'd be exempt from property and internet taxes here as well. So it's not just there, but here. This is good. We can do this. Yeah, we long as you're going with the government line, abortion, homosexuality, and trans rights must be pushed. All of their order falls on this. That's the pillars of their existence. Abortion, homosexuality, and trans rights. And if you don't get in line with that, Mr. Preacher, you will be taxed. All right, Israel. Jen wouldn't answer, but this is what's going on. Israel is a mess. We cannot tell which way Israel will go in the elections. Have to have the old man call, I guess. So I'm sorry I didn't write that down very well. See what we can do with Netanyahu. Have to call the old man. Taint him with Biden. What are they going to do? They're working on a plot, something about money or something to taint him with money that went through him to go to Hamas. That's their plan, or something like that. Sorry. So we can reveal it. So they want Biden to get him to agree to something to help Israel, but they do something shady that people wouldn't like, and then the regime will reveal it to taint Netanyahu. That's their plan, or something like that. You know, get some money or some kind of support to go the wrong way, reveal it to the country so he's out. Someone think of something by next week. Email me. Let's get the shipments ready for Hamas. Remember, I told you they're working on arms shipments to Hamas. We're losing valuable time. If it weren't for Christians and Jews, that's their thought. If it weren't for Christians and Jews, especially Israeli Jews, their world would be perfect. Well, I got news for you. If it wasn't for Christian and Jews, your world would be really, really bad. Pray for our country, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, and you think, oh, how are you hearing all this? It's real. It's happening. This is the way that they feel. Get the news out. Help us. I'm sorry, it's a Friday program. We went long. Monday, we're going to, as far as I know, look at seculardems.org and just keep laying this out. Pray, because this can end if we'll call on the Lord. This can end soon. Pray. God bless America. Make your voice heard. Heard. Not just to God, but to your elected officials. And I realize that sounds like, oh, how's that going to do anything? There's some that'll hear. Call your senator. Call your representative. Let them know. I hate this agenda. Vote against it. They're the liars. They're the thieves. The thief in chief. Goodbye. Have a great weekend. We will see you Monday.